Hey guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 112. And this is a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. And this week I have 20 comics to review, so it's a bit of a heavier week. And we go worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. So let's get started. What was my worst pick of the week this week? And ow, I just hurt my ankle. And that was number 20, which was Civil War issue 4. Yeah, Civil War for me has been a little disappointing. I feel the world they built here is not that interesting, and when they reveal who the villain is in this issue, or the real villain, I was like, at this point I really don't care. There's some characters I do care about, like Jen. I liked the last issue for what it was. I gave it like a 3.5. I thought it was a lot better than what it's been. Not like great, but it is a lot better, because they concentrate on the characters a bit more, but still like concentrating on this world I really don't care about. And you know, it's still a war. It's still a battle, of course. It's Civil War, so you're gonna get a bit of a war, and we're leading up to that in these last couple of issues, and now last issue hopefully we'll get the war that we're all expecting. And we'll see what happens in the end. I wasn't too impressed here. Really forgettable. Artwork is really dark. I just don't really like the artwork at all. And just for the story, maybe it fit like an indie book or something, but I didn't think it fit the story at all. So Civil War issue 4 gets 2 stars. Wasn't impressed with this one. Alright, moving on to number 19, which is Tet issue 1, which is pretty short from IDW. And I was actually pretty excited to read this issue. I really liked the description. It was about the Vietnam War and a romance that, you know, came out of this guy being in Vietnam, and then he found his love, and I thought that was interesting. But they didn't really concentrate on that. The opening is actually really good. It opens up saying, I don't really like telling war stories, and then you find out why he doesn't really like telling war stories. And but I feel like the way this issue is organized, it wasn't, honestly. There's times where he's older, he's an old man, he's like, oh, well, I don't want a paycheck, you know, I don't want that. I don't like them on disability. But then you have times where he's like, alright, you know, I'm planning my marriage with my wife, or, you know, my fiance, and then he goes on to a mission of the war. It's just the way it was organized and the way the issue flowed. It didn't really flow for me. The best parts were definitely with him and his fiance, and there were some good emotional moments there. I liked the narration for the most part, but the structure of the issue wasn't great, and I was like, do I read the next issue? I don't know. I kind of didn't get that hook, even though I do feel like it has potential. Now, the reason it's so low, though, is not really the story, but it's honestly the artwork. I wish I had the issue with me, but I did read it digitally, and really did not like the artwork. It felt two-dimensional, like, there's this, like, he had this half his face, and it was shaded, it was like, it looked flat, the face, so there was a lot of times where he had that. It was very dark and muddy. Did not like the artwork. That's why this issue is so low. So number 19 was Tet issue 1, and I gave that 2 stars. So moving on to number 18, which is Justice League United issue 13, once again in the bottom, but a little bit better than last issue. I thought the artwork was a tiny bit better. It's just like kind of generic artwork. That was the best way I could put it, but it was a little bit better. Again, I don't have the issue because I read it digitally, but the story, at least it felt like the characters had a bit of a voice here. But the plot, I really do not care about. It's them kind of teaming up with Vandal Savage here. Like, they go onto a different plane where there's these different wars being fought. Kind of got confusing, and then Batgirl said it was like, why the hell am I here? Why am I on this mission? Like, I have no idea. Why are any of you on this mission right now? So the actual story, I really could care less about. You know, Vandal Savage, I guess it's cool to see him shine a bit more, especially before Legends of Tomorrow. But I'm only sticking for this issue because there's a lot of characters I like in it. Like, I really like Stargirl, I really like Batgirl, but the plot is just not that good. But yeah, it's a bit of an improvement from last issue. That's not really saying much. I still didn't really like last issue. I'll continue reading it digitally, but definitely not getting it printed at this point. But yeah, Justice League United issue 13 gets 2.5 stars. So now we're moving on to number 17, which is Society issue 4. This is actually a lot higher for issue 3 because they concentrate on Lois, and I think she's the best part of this series, and the only reason I'm still picking it up is for Lois. And here we get to concentrate more on Vows and his relationship with Power Girl, and him, you know, her finding out that he had to do with Clark's murder. And just like, how could you? So now he's alone and like lives on this other world. And Dick Grayson thought that he killed Sloane, which he didn't. So he's like, oh, alright, I understand. And that's where it ends. I do think the art improved a bit, though. I want to say that. The artwork is a bit of an improvement. I feel like there was a little bit more detail in the background. Not a lot, but a little bit more detail than the last issue, so I'll give it there. It's still very anime-ish that I'm not a big fan of, but it's improving a little, so I'll give it that. Story just wasn't too interesting. Again, the best part of the series is Lois, that's why I'm picking it up, and I mean, the story had to be told, especially if you like the character of Vows, which I know a lot of people do, but it was just kind of on the boring side, the way they kind of placed it, the way they told it. And I think they really need to build this world a bit better, because I still don't really understand the society they've built. You know, this whole story, this whole book is about this new society, and we haven't really seen this new society at all in the whole series. So that's something I definitely think that needs to be done for me to actually care about these stories. Like, just tell an issue about like what these other people are doing, how people are interacting with each other. They keep doing these these spotlights on one character. It's like, stop, just make them all together and just show what the society's all about. What is this team about? I don't know. Just explain. So I think they just need a lot more world building here for me to be totally interested in the series. But of course, like I said, I'll continue picking up for Lois, but this was definitely a weaker issue than last month. So Earth 2 Society, issue 4, gets 2.5 stars. Alright, moving on to number 16, which is Batman Superman, issue 24. I didn't really like Batman Superman last month, and I didn't really like it this month either. It's kind of a continuation of the same thing. It's definitely more Superman story, which is disappointing. This is Batman Superman. I just don't want Superman. And it's mostly Aquaman, Batman, and Superman fighting each other in a way, but really doing it so they could defeat the villain, which I don't really care who the villain was. And they end up defeating him, and Superman goes his own way, and then he finds Bruce, which was the best part of this issue. He finds Bruce, they talk, you know, Clark learns a little bit about the new Bruce, which also doesn't connect to Batman, because I think Clark already knew about the new Bruce, because he talked to Jim, but I know there's no continuity, really, at this point anyways. So it doesn't matter, but it should matter. But yeah, that portion was actually a lot better. The artwork was actually a lot better there too. It wasn't perfect, but just compared to the other artwork, I thought it was a little bit cleaner. And the coloring was pretty good, even though I thought Clark looked a bit plain. The artwork was a bit better than the other art, which I thought was very bright, and couldn't really concentrate on the action because it was so bright. I understood that, you know, there's the sun thing going on, so I understood why it had to be bright, but I just didn't think the colors really clashed very well, so I didn't really like the artwork that much. I really do not like Superman's new look, so that might be another reason, this shaved head thing. But yeah, I was just kind of bored with this issue. Too much Superman, kind of want to see where Batman's going. And the best part of the issue was Bruce and Clark, and it was only like 3 pages. So Batman Superman issue 24 gets 2.5 stars. Moving on to number 15, which is Robin Hood Ongoing, issue 14. A little disappointed to see this low, but it wasn't a bad issue. It was just kind of a forgettable issue. Again, not a big Van Helsing fan, so to have all these vampires I didn't totally care about. I kind of want to see Marion and Robin team up again. That was usually where the best part is, and they do team up a little bit here, but you don't really get to see their chemistry as much. So I didn't quite care about the villain. I feel like I keep saying that about Robin Hood a lot. It's like I don't care about the villain, even though I care about the other characters. But yeah, this is very much a Van Helsing team up, and I'm not too interested in her character, so I didn't like this issue as much. So I gave it 3 stars. So moving on to number 14, which is Savior, issue 6. And I thought this was a little bit of an improvement from what we've been getting, but still very slow. We learn a little bit about the Savior, how people depict him. They're really excited to learn more about him, and I don't think they will. I don't even think we will. And I think this is a mini-series too, so I'm like, alright, you know, quicken this pace a bit. But my favorite part of the issue is definitely the beginning, where the journalist is kind of interviewing everybody and seeing their different opinions. I thought that was very cool. And the artwork is beautiful too. That's something that really got me to love issue 1. I've really enjoyed issue 1. But ever since then, it hasn't had that magic of issue 1. I felt like issue 1 just had a lot of, you know, philosophy. You had a lot of mystery, but it gave you enough. Savior issue 6, still not giving you enough. I don't think the plot's been progressing that much, and they scatter a lot of characters. They don't really concentrate on one. So you have little information on all these characters, but I'm like, alright, let's have a lot of information on at least one of these characters to make you feel attached to something. So Savior issue 6 gets 3 stars. Alright, moving on to number 13, which is Secret Wars 2099 issue 5. And I thought this was an okay issue. Again, this was not as good as the beginning of the series. I thought the beginning of the series was a lot stronger than the end, but still a pretty good ending. You get to see kind of Captain America realizing who she is, because in the end she's like, oh, I have to have a talk with my husband. And the best part of the series was Captain America, let's admit it. And that's why I really enjoy the series. Like, the mystery of Captain America is like, why the hell is she like this, you know? So, that's something I enjoyed with this issue. Didn't really care about the villain that much of this. You get to see this giant octopus. They all have to defeat it. So that's what you're getting to see in this issue. Artwork's still a bit plain. But Miguel was pretty interesting here because he killed his father. So that was a pretty cool part. And I really like the ending with Black Widow, where she just kind of goes all vampire and eats her boyfriend. So I thought that was kind of a cool ending. So overall, it's an okay issue, but it's, you know, it's kind of satisfying ending. Kind of want a little bit more, but it's satisfying enough. So overall, I would say it's an okay series towards the end, but it's a really strong series in the beginning. So Secret Wars 2099 issue 5 gets 3.5 stars. All right, so now we're moving on to we're on number 12, which is Giant Size Little Marvels issue 4. Yeah, this is so cute. This book is a very cute series, and I will say, again, I think the first issue is a bit stronger, a lot more laughs, but this still has a good amount of laughs. It's, you know, the twins figuring out exactly who they're going to join, and everyone's fighting each other. It is Avengers vs. X-Men vs. Guardians, and they end up joining the Brotherhood. So I wanted a couple more laughs here, but I thought the ending was pretty satisfying. And overall, it's a very cute miniseries if you haven't picked it up. And you have some cash and extra cash, or you know, you have a kid that you want to really read a Marvel comic to. I think this is a really good pick. So 3.5 stars for Avengers vs. X-Men Little Marvels issue 3. Or maybe it was issue 4. Don't remember. Let me just check. It was issue 4, I'm sorry. Let's move on to number 11, which is Star Wars Shattered Empire. So much Secret Wars, sorry. Yes, Star Wars Shattered Empire, Journey to Star Wars The Force Awakens. So, as you guys know, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I'm getting to the point where I'm a casual fan, because I'm watching the movie, super excited for episode 7 from what I'm seeing, and so I've been trying to get into more of Star Wars stuff, so you gotta start somewhere, and I've been watching the movies, we're getting there. We do a Media Madness commentary on it, and we're up to episode 3. We're actually going to do that next week, or this week, so look forward to that. Little plug. But Star Wars Shattered Empire. This issue, for me, has beautiful artwork. Love the artwork and the action. The action is really well done here. But I kind of was taken off guard because I thought this issue was going to be like about the main characters. But we were introduced to, I guess, a new character. Again, not a Star Wars super fan, so I guess this is a new character. And we learned she's married, and, you know, she's part of the rebellion. And we find out that the war's not totally over. So we see that she goes on another mission. And that's kind of what the issue's about. So, plot's a bit on the slower side, but I kind of wish they gave us a little bit more heart to this character. Like, you see that she's badass, but you don't really know much about her. Like, maybe an inner monologue would have worked a little better here. So that's something I would really wanted. But it's an okay issue. I give it 3.5 stars. It gave me enough to pick up the next issue. Again, the artwork was beautiful. But yeah, I expected a little bit more from it at the same time. I wanted more of the main characters, Princess Leia being my favorite. But I guess they're saving that for the movie or maybe later on in the series. So yeah, overall, I'm going to give Star Wars Shattered Empire issue 1, 3.5 stars. Alright, now we are moving on to, I think, number 10. Yes, number 10, which is A-Force, issue 4. Not a bad issue, a little bit on the predictable side. We get to see that Loki was the villain all along, or Lady Loki, whatever they call her. And it's just a big fight between people that used to be friends with her, our A-Force team. And at the end, Loki's like, oh, I don't really care, I guess, because I'm going to defeat you guys anyways. And the Avengers are like, no, you're not, and we'll fight. So artwork is pretty good for the story. Still feel like there's something, like, I guess, there's something with the faces. It's very narrow, I guess. That's still something I can't really put my finger on that I don't love about the artwork, but still pretty good. Coloring's pretty good. I like that. But the story was just kind of predictable. It's like, alright, Loki's the villain. But I guess my problem's always been with A-Force that I don't feel connected to the characters, and I don't feel like they have a lot of chemistry. And I still feel that way, and hopefully after Secret Wars I'll feel differently, but they don't have a lot of chemistry here. And hopefully they will change that, but I think that was the biggest negative of the issue, but still, you know, good issue overall. It's not bad, but not mind-blowing either. So A-Force issue 4 gets 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 9, which I think is going to shock a lot of people that is kind of lower, more in the middle of the list, which is Batman, issue 44. There is definitely a lot of positives of this issue. First of all, just the social commentary and everything, talking about police brutality, economics, so I thought that was interesting. And I like the ending of the issue where we get to see Batman learns that he can't just fight everybody, can't just punch everybody, kind of could just talk to these kids, and that's how you can help them, by not just like punching the villain. It's like help the kids, and he learns that here, and I enjoyed that part. And the artwork's really beautiful. I think it fits the story. It's a bit dark for me. I don't love dark artwork, but I think it fits the story it's trying to tell. But, you know, I've seen a lot of reviews before this, because I saw, like, a lot of people love this issue, and a lot of people were saying, oh, it doesn't feel like a filler issue. And then, in my mind, I'm like, it kind of does, though. It does tell the story of our new Mr. Bloom, our new villain, but he's a very small portion of this issue. I kind of feel like they should have told the story a little bit before, because it brings Bruce Wayne back so quickly. We've only seen a couple of issues of Jim Gordon, and I feel like if you're reading this in trade, it just feels like a really random issue to have. So, even though I think the story socially is necessary to tell, but I guess in the canon and what's going on with the story, it didn't feel like it needed to be told at this point. It may have been told a little earlier. So I felt it was a bit abrupt in the middle of the story, and it's also just not my style of story. I'm not a big hard-boiled fan, so it's very much a hard-boiled detective story, and it was a bit on the darker side for me. But definitely understand the social cues it was getting at, and I'll give it 3.5 stars. It definitely was not a bad issue, but it just wasn't as impressive as what I've seen other people have been enjoying. At least in my opinion, it just wasn't my thing. So Batman issue 44 gets 3.5 stars. Alright, moving on to number 8, I feel? Maybe we're up to... Yeah, we are on number 8, which is Catwoman issue 44. I feel like I probably would enjoy this issue even more if I'd been reading Catwoman longer, but I liked it for the most part. It's Catwoman learning her place. We find out, you know, the other Catwoman, a little bit more about her and her family, and there's a big tragedy that happens to her in this issue. It was nice seeing Stephanie, Catwoman, Selena gives her a mission actually to have, and I love where she's like, I don't know if she's gonna survive, but I like that she's gutsy enough to, like, do this, and I know she'll do this for me. So I like that. I thought that was very, very much towards Stephanie. I love that. Artwork is pretty good too. Only thing I could say about the artwork, there's times where I think the shading's a little weird. Like over here, this guy has like it's very small, minute, but there's definitely like missing like white marks there, and I thought that was kind of weird. So the shading could be a little bit better. But overall, the artwork is pretty good. Fits the story, fits kind of this crime lore thing going on, mobster thing going on. And I like that Selena told her family what was going on with her, that she's Catwoman and she kind of wants to quit this whole thing. And I'm interested in seeing the series in a new direction, because I think the weaker part of the series, for me at least, is the stronger part I think that a lot of people have been enjoying, is the mobster element. I guess because I haven't been reading the previous issues, so I just can't get into it. I like the superhero element, or supervillain / anti-hero element a little bit more when she's on the rooftops talking to Stephanie, doing those stuff. I enjoyed those moments more than let's talk to the family. So So Catwoman issue 44 gets 3.5 stars. It wasn't bad, but I think if you've been reading Catwoman for a little longer, this would be a bit higher, because there is definitely a lot of stuff that happened. Okay, moving on to number 7, right? No. I don't think it is number 7. I think we're up to number 8. Let's see. No, we are up to number 7. Okay, we're up to number 7, which is Mirror's Edge. I'm not going to try to pronounce, let's see, Exordium, issue 1. Just a little background on Mirror's Edge. I've played this game a lot. It is a video game, and as you guys know, I'm not a huge gamer, but in high school I was. So I remember me, my brother, and my friend, we used to play this game all the time, because it was such a new and refreshing game that is about parkour, and it's just so fluent, and the brightness of the game was awesome. So I remember really enjoying the game, and I'll definitely get the second game, the sequel, which is what this book is about. The sequel, / I think it was a prequel before, but now it's a sequel. But I will say about the game, I was never too interested in the story. I really liked the game itself, but the story wasn't so interested in. But one thing I really liked about this book, not so much the plot. I think the plot's interesting, but it's not, you know, blow your mind interesting. But what I really liked is that you felt like you were playing the game. And something I've always enjoyed about the game is it felt very different. And I think the artwork really fit this. It felt bright, and the way they ran, like how they focused on the feet, or just the way they moved, felt very much like the video game. So I really enjoyed those parts, and that's why it's a bit higher. Story's not bad either. You know, we learn a little bit about Faith, how she's different, and how, you know, how she's one of the best runners. We get to see, for some reason, me and my friend and my brother would call her Gwen Stefani. Don't really remember her real name, but she looks a lot like Gwen Stefani, so let's call her Gwen Stefani. So yeah, you know, she interacts with the villain, or the one where we see the plot twist where it's her friend, but now she's the villain. But yeah, it was good. If you enjoyed the video game, I think you'll really enjoy the comic. If you don't, I don't know how much you're going to get out of this, but I gave it 3.5 stars. I didn't think it was a bad issue, and I'll definitely get the next issue. Alright, moving on to number 6, which is Outcast, issue 12. I think Outcast has been improving a lot, and we get to focus a bit more on Mark's sister, because she's possessed, and Mark's kind of decision on where he's going to go after this. Will he step away from his family? Will he try to join the priest a little bit more with trying to help people, and what it really means to be an outcast? He still doesn't know, but he's discovering it. And I like they utilized the sister. We actually got a really cool flashback of like how close they are. My worry is that they're going to push the family away though after this. Like, oh, well, you can't be close to me because they're going to be possessed and I want to help you. It's like kind of that trope. I feel like the strongest part of this series is the family and, you know, relating to that. And still having, you know, the family care about Mark, but at the same time he has this hidden secret. So that's something I like. And also artwork obviously is beautiful. Love the artwork. It just fits the story so well, and it does the emotional beats really well. The close-ups work, and then even like the exorcism looked really cool. So I'm worried for where the future goes. I still don't really know if I care about the world of Outcast, but I care about the characters, and I think that's what matters, at least at this point. So overall, I'm going to give Outcast issue 12. I was going to give it a 3.5, but I'm going to go to the 4 stars because the artwork is really well done. So that's number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Arrow Season 2.5, issue 12. This is a very solid issue. First, I just want to say a little bit of the negatives. Still, the artwork, like, it works for most characters except Oliver. He has this goofy face all the time. So all the other characters look pretty good, but Oliver just never looks right. And also Roy sometimes, but he's not really in the series that much. But I like this issue because it felt, again, why I like this series. It feels so much like the television show, which you know I love. And we get to see Oliver feel that he's still that playboy guy, and he's like, oh, I guess maybe I am the selfish guy. So I feel like it's this transition of being, you know, that hero and knowing his place from that season 1 Oliver just to help his father, and now to his own person. Now we're seeing a bit more in season 3 and hopefully season 4 too. So I enjoyed that a lot, and I enjoyed Sarah. You get to see a little of Sarah and Nyssa, which is great. Getting inside look of their relationship, which we really haven't gotten a lot on the television show. And then the ending was really cool, because it actually was the beginning of season 3. Season 3, where you know, it says, "Oh, I'm Oliver Queen in 5 years," you know, and so it's the different monologues. So I like those portions, how they connected to the TV show. Things I didn't get about this issue, though, is that Oliver was kind of whiny in this issue, like, because the guy, the villain that we've been seeing, Green, he dies. It just tells Oliver, well, you're nobody, you know, you're evil, blah, 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 you're just like your father, you're selfish. And for like a week, Oliver's just thinking about what he said. He's like, am I selfish? Am I? So it's like, why did this one guy's sentence affect you? You're the Arrow. I didn't understand that at all, why he took that so personally. So that's, you know, it took weeks for him to get over that. Another thing that just did not make sense in this issue was that Sarah goes to Malcolm Merlyn, and, you know, they finally talk, and then Malcolm Merlyn's like, oh, Miss Lance, we've never met before. We've never met before? Your sister grew up with your son. Well, yes, Sarah's sister, Laurel, grew up with Malcolm's son. Sarah 100% definitely knows Malcolm Merlyn. I mean, I did not understand that at all, how they did not know each other. So that was a bit weird. If he called Black Canary, or if he called the Canaries like, we don't know each other, then I guess that would make a little bit more sense, but that made no sense to me. Those are very small details, though. Those are the negatives of why I could not go higher, but I did give it 4 stars. I do think it's a solid book, and the things I did enjoy overweighed what I didn't enjoy. But it's still, if you like the show, I think this is much improvement of that first series of Arrow, and I'm really excited. Hopefully they'll have Arrow season 3.5, because that will be really interesting, because we'll actually get Thea in it, because Thea was hardly in this series, and really see how the team interacted with each other without Oliver. I think that'll be really cool. I don't know if they'll go with a season 3.5, but I think they should. So I'm going to give this 4 stars. I thought it was solid, but there was definitely those 2 minor problems that were weird. But let's move on to number 4, which is Quake issue 1. This is such a fun issue. First, I'm just going to give you the little negative I do have. It kind of got a little hard to get used to the artwork towards the beginning. I thought it was a little bit on this sketchier side, so I'll say that. It's a bit on the darker side too for the coloring, a little cartoony. So that's something I will say, but the story is really well told. It's about Sky / Quake / Daisy. She's obviously part of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's been part of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a while, and then she actually is asked by the Avengers to join a mission. And Daisy's like, why the hell are they asking me to be on a mission? And she's still, even on the mission, she's like, why the hell am I here? Like, why did Captain America ask me? And during the mission, she goes into this cabin where she sees these Inhumans. And she realizes that they were just they weren't villains. They were just, you know, people being affected by the war. And she's like, all right, you go escape. And the other Avengers, she's like, where are they? And then she ends up being interrogated. And she's being interrogated throughout the whole issue, and by the end, Steve Rogers walks in, and then she says, I don't think I did anything wrong. And she's like, yeah, I know you didn't do anything wrong, and he keeps saying you don't know why you have a part in this team. You don't know why you're here, but I know why you're here. It's because you're our compass, our moral compass, and that's why you were here. Other Avengers wouldn't have done that, what you did during that mission. So I really enjoyed the story here. Again, I think it really shows who Quake is as a character, more in the comic books, and also, you see definitely a shine of Sky here. Though they utilized the powers really well, enjoyed that. Again, the artwork could have been a little better, but the story overall was very solid, and so far I've been really enjoying the 50 years of S.H.I.E.L.D. I really enjoyed Mockingbird last week, and enjoyed Quake too, and hopefully I'll enjoy Agent Carter next week. So that is Quake issue 1, and that's number 4. Now, I'm going to say that my top 3 are 3 issues that really, really were good. I really enjoyed all 3 of these issues a lot. So number 3, going into it, The Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, issue 5. This is just a great way to end the series, because we get to see the Parker family team up, and it was a lot of fun to see that. You get to see Mary Jane wear this guard's armor, get kind of powers from it in a way, and Annie's fighting to save Peter. And then they end up fighting the villain together, and I thought that was really cool. And by the end, they go back to their normal life, and it was just kind of cool to see the Parker family again, and see Mary Jane strong. And I guess the only negative I had with this issue was it was weird that the villain actually wanted to do all this to defeat Doom. So was Spider-Man the villain in all this? Because Spider-Man stopped him, and this guy just wants to defeat Doom, who's really the ultimate villain of Secret Wars. And I think in this issue, if I'm not mistaken, I think Peter said, "Who's Doom?" Which is weird, because this is Secret Wars, so why wouldn't he know who Doom is? So I might be wrong on that. I feel like he said that in this issue. So anyways, I enjoyed this issue a lot, though. It was great to see the family together, and yeah, if you missed the Parker family, this is exactly what you want, and hopefully we can see this continue in some way, because I really enjoyed it. So, Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, issue 5 gets 4.5 stars, and definitely some of the best writing from Dan Slott for Spider-Man. Alright, moving on to number 2, which is such a fun issue. Starfire issue 4. This is such a fun series, and with this issue we get to see Tara and Starfire team up against this big monster, and the sheriff, after the team up's ended, she's like, "My favorite waitress has superpowers," and she kind of goes into this crazy, like, I can't process this, that there's so many superheroes that are here. So she just takes it as a human being, and you know, she has her temper tantrum in a pool, and you know, she's all cool now. She's like, alright, I guess I could deal with this. And then you get to see a little bit of a mixture of what's going to happen next, that there's the murderer who killed all those people on the boat, and then also another person who's looking for Starfire. Those were the weaker part of the issue, and there's only like 2 pages though, and I didn't really care about that part. I guess I'm worried for that in the next issue, but they might describe it where I really enjoy it. But I love Tara as a supporting character now. I like that she's trying to balance her normal life with, you know, balancing her powers. Love her friendship with Starfire. And then the sheriff was so funny in this issue. I loved how she just tried to process all of this. I loved the temper tantrum. I loved it all. So it's a really fun series. If you're not reading Starfire, it's a comedy series, an action series, a superhero series, everything in one. And it's so great. It's one of my favorite DC books out there. One of my favorite books out there in general. Read Starfire. And that's my number 2. I gave that 4.5 stars. But what made number 1 this week? And that was Miss Marvel issue 18. This is my pick of the week. This is what I love about Miss Marvel, this whole issue. We get to see Miss Marvel geek over Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel leave a medallion to Miss Marvel and say, this is, you know, this is a GPS, so I get to know where you are. And one of my favorite lines that she says here is that, I'm glad that everyone, you know, wasn't lying when they said you're something special. And I love how the Marvel Universe has been treating Miss Marvel. They don't, like, push her away. It's like, oh, you're just, like, a, you know, fangirl, whatever. They know that she's, like, has this wide open, or eyes wide open, mindset. And it's a good thing. And I love that. I love that about Kamala, and I think the Marvel Universe loves that. Or, you know, the heroes of the Marvel Universe love that, because they've seen so much bad. It's kind of cool to see something good, and someone just wanting to do good just for the sake of doing good. So, love that part. I love the connection with her and Captain Marvel. And then it goes to the other half of why we love Miss Marvel, which is the family and the supporting characters that aren't superheroes. Bruno really wasn't in it that much, so the cover is a bit misleading, which I didn't like. But it's Kamala's brother dealing with having temporary powers, and then her brother being, you know, kind of who we knew from issue 1 and from the beginning of the series, being a little uptight and saying, "Oh, well, you don't know what it feels like to have powers." She's like, "What? I just saved you," in her mind. Of course, not telling her brother. And then the parents come in, and then she realizes these are her last moments. She's got to kind of tell the truth now. And she tells her mother that, "I'm Miss Marvel. I'm the one who saved the day." And then her mother just hugs her and she says, "I know, baby." I love that moment. I was like, "I know, of course." And then she's like, "What? You knew this whole time?" So I love that moment. I can't wait to see where that goes. I love a good character reveal, and that was perfect. Or, you know, superhero identity reveal. And yeah, this is, again, everything you love about Miss Marvel all in one, and it was a perfect issue. One of my favorite Secret Wars books is definitely this, and it was so well done. So that was my pick of the week. So hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to follow me on Comic Uno, or on my Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to like my Facebook page for Like Father Like Daughter. Don't forget to follow the comic and check out those links. And guys, I do have the Kickstarter for Like Father Like Daughter issue 2 going on right now, so hopefully you guys can check that out, which is annotated. But I'll see you guys later. Of course, I'll have another Comic Uno episode next week. I'll see you guys later. Bye.